What do you think the main battles that General Zaluzhny won so far in his life, and how did they achieve them? Or it doesn't matter which battles at all, it's just one long process. What do you think?
I think like as a human being, he definitely won many battles, and I can talk about that. But I want first to emphasize the main battle he won. That was the battle for Ukraine, not himself. Yeah, it's not like their individual war. It's a war of millions of Ukrainians, and he was in charge. He was the leader, and he gave these right signals to the people that, hey, we are still fighting. We have the strength to stop the aggressor. We are not like defeated. We are not surrendered. We are keeping fighting. And that was important like message to people to raise this like morale and to use this historic moment. We had like tiny chances to stop Russian aggression. General himself acknowledges that all military simulations, all these military games and trainings before the full-scale invasion showed that we have just, really tiny chances to win this main battle. Yeah, not give the chance to occupy. Not to give the Russians the opportunity to occupy Kyiv and to replace government and destroy our main forces. So that was the tiny chance, and he used this chance. And his strength was also to inspire people, to show them that they have the military leader in charge. So of course, like the main leader for the entire nation was our president, and he did just phenomenal job in uniting like people all over the world around Ukraine. And when we are talking about this military dimension, I think General Valerijaus Zalužno played just such an important role as this military leader for his country. So that I think was the main battle he won. And as a human being, I think during his life now I can see that and I can witness and can tell that, and especially because he also published his book where he shared some very sensitive personal details, like he lost his first child. I couldn't, share those details, while of course I knew about that, but I didn't feel myself like comfortable to just, disclose such a sensitive details. So, but he did it himself, showing that you can overcome really hard times in your life. You can be defeated in different places and being fully desperate and demotivated. But if you have bigger mission you follow, you can always recover and just keep going.
There's an interesting line in the book where it's several episodes where it deals with the U.S. General Milley. And in one place he says that the victory of either side is very unlikely, so it would be right to use any opportunity to negotiate. I think it was about 22, and then Ukraine met this with anger. How about now? Do people in Ukraine still think that the aggressor can be defeated in classic definition of this word?
It's important, when we are talking about this, it's important, to understand the moment when it raised. This statement by General Milley was made in autumn 2022. At that moment, Ukraine was winning. We had this, had this moment to push Russians because already we just were able to liberate Kharkiv region. In November 2022, we liberated Kherson, the biggest city they occupied, the center of Kherson region. We liberated the whole right bank of Ukraine, actually pushing Russians to the left bank of Dnipro River. And they were pulling back Russians. And that was the moment, if we had more weapons, we could defeat them. And that's why at that time it was important to push for more weapon supplies. And unfortunately, because of lack of these right weapon systems and shells and everything we desperately needed at that moment, the counteroffensive of Ukraine stopped. and we couldn't recover. And the moment when the biggest counteroffensive operation started, we were not so successful already because we lost the momentum. Russians used this time to regroup, to mobilize more people, to prepare their positions in the southern part of Ukraine. That's why Ukraine wasn't able to move forward. But at the moment of autumn 2022, we definitely could do that.
It was, yes, autumn 2022. But when did politics, namely the president's office, started to interfere with military affairs? Because it looks like at the beginning it was just the taking care of what they are supposed to take care, and lately they started to saying what to attack or what not to attack, right?
Yeah, I think it happened after the main threat was already not on the table, when Kyiv was liberated and the situation on the front line were more or less stabilized. So then it was probably summer of 2022, when the military leaders felt this political pressure somehow. And I wouldn't say that this is a bad stuff, because the president of Ukraine is the supreme commander-in-chief. This is his role, yeah. But here is a matter of trust, and the matter of this subordination, because the armed forces is a very well-organized structure, and its nature is that you see this chain of command, and people follow this. Once it's destroyed, once you, as a supreme commander, inviting to the meetings the commanders of some group of units and give direct orders, avoiding your commander-in-chief, you are just destroying the chain of command. And this is something which can work in business sphere, in civilian life, but this is destroying component when we are talking about military structure.
Right. And Zaluzhnyi being so popular among his troops and Ukraine, but he was trying to avoid giving interviews. Was this an attempt not to irritate the president, or why he was standing away?
That was one of the reasons. That definitely Zaluzhnyi didn't want to make his relationships with the president worse. That was the one explanation for this. The second explanation is he was really so busy with his duties, and he couldn't speak about the military situation on the strategic level without touching the political dimension. And he couldn't do that, definitely. When you are in this role, you are just in the situation. You cannot explain to people why the right orders were not adopted at the right moment, why the hands of the military were tied. Because if you don't have this martial law, if you don't have the right orders, you cannot do anything. Imagine now your military will come to the fields, to the farmers' fields, and say, hey, we have to build fortification. The farmer will, why are you doing that? And he will say, because there is a threat of Russian troops on the border. And he will say, where is the order? Where is this, right? So, people, just military couldn't do their job. And I understand the political situation as well. And I'm trying to explain that it was so difficult for the president himself to make any orders before the moment of the aggression, because we couldn't provoke Russians. We couldn't give the world any chance to speak about Ukrainians as those who are provoking, who are doing something to irritate aggressor, to just, so that's so difficult. And again, Russians are so good in playing and simulating the situation. I remember big research about how Russians use the military trainings to achieve their strategic goals, how they show this the power and the threat as a tool to negotiate, to push, to make pressure on their neighbors. And you couldn't know for 100%, is it a simulation or is it a real preparation to the big war? So that's so difficult, like, to estimate and to make some proper actions. And of course, like now when we see what happened, we can say, hey, we should, like, communicate that better, we should execute it better, we should. But history doesn't have like this past tense.
Absolutely. You mentioned the liberation of Kherson, and that was a situation when some questions, of course, immediately came up. It was 25 or so thousand Russians on the right bank of Dnipro, and they were not exterminated or captured. Why was that? Do you know any political angles to this story, or US maybe suggestion not to do that because of some other reasons that we don't know?
I cannot speak like from my my point of view, because I wasn't involved into like that military operations planning or something. I can only say what the commander of this operational strategic group of units who led this Kherson operation, this is General Andrei Kovalchuk, what he mentioned publicly, that he was disappointed because of that his initial plan was exactly like to surrender these troops and to capture them, and he was able to do that because the operation started in summer 2022 and lasted like for 3+ months and was quite a success, but because of some something happened, like some decision, something happened. He couldn't finish the operation with the end state he initially planned. So that's the only thing I can say in this regard.
Right. You mentioned already, but that Mr. Zaluzhnyi has a number of not typical values for a military chief, and sense of humor, one of them. Do you remember moments when he used to joke publicly, or any interesting events that followed those really tense moments that Ukraine was experiencing through initial months or years even?
I cannot recall like some jokes like just for public, which were like
Dar galingesnės, išmanesnės, efektyvesnės. Daikin Emūra. Čia susitinka tyla ir oro kokybė.